Okay, so last week we started a 3 or 4 part series. I'm really not sure how long we're going to go with this. I'm just going to keep doing them until there's no more value. But we started a series about sales. And last week we started talking about building value for people and how to create what we call a confidence sequence around that. And that really is just a way for you to confidently deliver the value that Plexus is going to bring to other people. How to bridge that gap between the dry and boring facts and benefits of our product and the real value for our customers, right? We laid that out, and hopefully you guys have been practicing that and are feeling more and more comfortable with that verbiage. This week, we're going to learn a little bit more about how to unleash curiosity and how to get in conversations with people in the first place, because we can't have the conversations unless we are creating the curiosity for people to want to come to us, for people to want to have those conversations with us. So that's what we're looking at tonight. We want to make people lean into what we have to say and ultimately what we have to sell, because we can have the most amazing products and opportunity in the world. And I truly believe that we do. But if nobody is listening and nobody's watching, it really doesn't matter. We're just talking the wind. So we have to learn how to gauge that curiosity and how to bring that in. So we're going to talk about how to get into those conversations tonight, and then how do we move through those once we're in them. But before we move into kind of the nuts and bolts of that, so much of this is about how we feel on the inside and how we are portraying that and communicating that to our audiences. So we're going to spend a little bit of time tonight around our mindset and doing some mindset work, specifically around this idea of enthusiasm and passion for what we do, because that is so huge. Passion is the key, and people know if you have it or if you don't. And this is a conversation I feel like I have a lot. And people will say, especially those of us who have been in Plexus for a couple of months, maybe those of us who have been in it for a couple of years, and people will say, Chelsea, I just don't feel motivated, or I don't feel like doing the winning day. Patty, I see you, you're doing it. I don't feel like doing the winning day, or I just don't wake up and feel, motivated to jump out of bed and sell a pink drink. Do I always have to be motivated and positive all the time? Do I have to be enthusiastic and passionate all the time? And I'm going to give you a hard answer to this, honestly, because I really want the answer to be no to that. Like, I really want to be able to tell you, no, you don't have to come with enthusiasm and motivation and passion every single day. We don't want to do the mundane things, y'all. We don't want to put in the work, but the answer to that is yes, you do. And y'all already know this, y'all. The speed of the leader is the speed of the team. As an entrepreneur, you will always be the leader of your team. No matter how big it gets, you will always be the energy driver. Your team will always follow your energy. They will always follow your positivity or your negativity, your consistency, your work ethic, your leadership. Always. It always rises and falls on the leader. Your customers and your team will always follow you. And you cannot fake enthusiasm. You cannot fake passion. You have to find a way to keep your enthusiasm and passion up in order to sustain the goals that you have for this, period. Now, this doesn't mean that we have to burn ourselves into the ground and fake it till we make it in this, because I feel like that's kind of a theme. The longer that we're in this, sometimes, like, that's the tendency, is that I'm just going to burn myself out. I'm just going to keep doing this until I can't go anymore. That's not what we want to do either, y'all. We want to create sustainability in this. We want to create a time in our business where we can create enough leaders and we can master the duplication to the point that we can take our foot off the gas a little bit, that we can go on cruise control for a little while. That is the goal. But I want you to know up front, and I'm so thankful that somebody told me this up front, that we will always be the thermostat for our organization. And that is true whether you're in Plexus, whether you are in church leadership, whether you are a mom setting the mood in your home, whether you open a brick and mortar boutique, you will always be the thermostat for your organization. So the first thing you have to decide is, am I willing to do that? Am I going to be a thermometer, or am I going to be a thermostat for my organization? Am I going to cave into every feeling and every emotion and every pity party that I have and feel for myself? Because there are going to be a lot of those, y'all. Like, I can't tell you how many times I have gotten emotional during this journey. I have thrown a pity party for myself because nobody showed up to my event, or gone down a whole spiral of emotions. Y'all drop an emoji or something in the chat if you can relate to this. This can be a deeply emotional business because it reveals a lot of our deep insecurities, right? It is going to reveal some hard things about us. So we can either pre-decide right now that we are going to cave into that and we are going to succumb to that, or are we going to step up and lead? Are we going to pre-decide, even if you don't have a team yet, y'all? If you are sitting on this call and you're silver or gold and you don't have a single business builder underneath you, I want you to pre-decide right now how you're going to lead your team, that you are going to be a thermostat, not a thermometer. That when you are speaking to your customers, when you're speaking to your would-be business builders, that you are going to provide solutions, because that's what we really do. We lead our customers to solutions in their health. We lead our team to find solutions to their mental roadblocks, to their business roadblocks, and we set the temperature for success on our teams. And that's really something that we just have to pre-decide to do. And I want to give y'all a real life example of this, and something that I've had the extreme privilege to really watch unfold in real time over the past 30 years. My dad is an entrepreneur. He is a geologist by trade, probably one of the smartest people I've ever met, probably has a legit genius IQ. And when I was 8 years old, he started a small sand processing company in our small town. He built it from the ground up. He was the sole employee. And I will never forget the night that he took my hand. He walked me out into our backyard one night, and he showed me about 20 bags of sand in our backyard. And he told me that he was quitting his job and that he was starting his own sand company. And I remember as an 8-year-old kid, I remember feeling the excitement from my daddy. Like it was palpable. And it was one of those memories I will never forget. He had this dream and it was palpable and I could see it. He had a vision for what he wanted this to look like. And ever since that day, y'all, he has been all in on that dream. Every single day for the first 20 years of his business, he was the first person in that building every day. He was the first person to invest his profits back into his own company. He was inside of that equipment, y'all. He was making repairs. He was getting his hands dirty, the last person to clock out at the end of the day. And I watched him do this for 20, now 30 years, caring for his people during Christmas, coming out of his own pocket for Christmas bonuses when times were tough. He invested in personal growth. He hired consultants that were more skilled in areas that he weren't. He has steered his ship from the front for 30 years and has built an incredible legacy business. And I believe he did that because he realized early on that one very important principle of business, and if we can understand this in Plexus, it will completely shift our mindset. And that is that no one will ever care about this business and your success and your dreams in this as much as you do. He realized that nobody else was invested as in his vision for what this was going to do for his family as he was, and he simply acted accordingly. He continuously thought outside the box. He thought ways to invest and improve, and he went all in on the idea that he could create something from nothing. And I think it's so neat now that I have a completely different set of dreams as his daughter than he did. My dreams do not involve being at a work site 10 hours a day. Mine involve homeschooling, working from home, never missing a softball game, while also finding purpose and drive outside of motherhood and finding something for me and being able to contribute financially doing all that. And the amazing thing about Plexus, y'all, is that I have the opportunity to earn as much as my dad earns owning 4 different businesses, selling a probiotic on the internet. And I want us to just really let that sink in. Like I have the ability of uncapped income, selling a product on the internet, selling value to people on the internet for a fraction of the time commitment that what my dad has built. I showed him my 1099 last year, y'all, and he literally could not believe it. Like he, as a businessman, was floored at the opportunity and that we have the potential to achieve and what we have the potential to achieve at a fraction of the time commitment and at a fraction of the investment. So I just want us to recognize that on those days where it's so tempting to just give in and not want to be the thermostat and not want to get up and do those hard things, the ability, like the opportunity that we have in front of us to commit to our dreams and make them a reality. And if you're somebody, and I feel like this needs to be said, if you're somebody who is in this for a couple of $100 a month, and maybe you're not in this for career income, that is okay. You need to get clear on what you want this to look like for you. What do you want this to look like for you? What is your goal? Because your goal in will always directly correlate to your results. Okay. But if that is you and you want to create significant income with this, how can we put wood on that fire? How can we keep the enthusiasm up? How can we keep our passion up without burning out? I just saw somebody in the waiting room. Let me let her in. How do we keep that flame of enthusiasm and motivation going on a daily basis when nobody's punching our time clock for us, when nobody's setting that alarm, when nobody's checking that laminated winning day sheet, Patty Grubb? How are we going to hold ourselves accountable? Because ultimately it has to come from within. Your upline can encourage you and help you see things from a different perspective, but at the end of the day, it's just you and that winning day sheet. It is just you and that personal development book. It is you and this team call at 8:30. Are you going to show up or not? What are you going to do with the information? Are you going to implement it? Are you going to put in earbuds and pretend it didn't happen? It is all about how we protect and feed our mindset. And I want to share, before we get into the nitty-gritty tonight, just a couple of ways to do that, because if we don't master this part of it, the sales part doesn't even matter, because we're not going to put ourselves in a position to have these conversations if we're not willing to show up and light that fire every single day. So one of the things I think we can do to continue stoking that fire of enthusiasm and passion is just continue to grow in our product knowledge. I think it can become so easy for us to be complacent in Plexus. And it's tempting to look for the next new shiny thing, or it's tempting to think, well, gut health has been here, done that. Or, I've shared enough testimonies. Like, what am I going to share next? I want to tell y'all, gut health hasn't changed. If anything, the science is coming out more and more every day about what these products are actually doing for people. And science is finally catching up to what we already know. So our products continue to be revolutionary and continue to change lives, y'all. So I want you to just remember that, and remember, how is this helping people? And remember that we're actually selling value. And one way we can do that is just continuing to pull those customer wins up to the top and remembering what our products do. Something that we should be doing weekly in our stories is sharing customer wins. And if you don't have a thread of customer wins and screenshots going, start one. I'm going to add a bunch to our boards tonight, but that's something you should have in your toolbox. If Angelica wants to share a story about customer wins, it doesn't matter if they texted her last night and gave her an update. If it's an update from 3 weeks ago, she can still share it. It's still relevant. If it's a testimony from 2021, it's still a relevant testimony, y'all. We have to be willing to share these stories, okay? Another really great exercise to do with product knowledge is to write down a feature or an ingredient about one of our products, okay? And we could go for any ingredient. Let's just say chromium, okay? Does the average bear know that they need chromium? Absolutely not. How can we take this boring fact about our product? How can we take this boring feature, this boring ingredient, and turn it into value? Remember, we talked about last week, what's in it for them, okay? Take our facts and features, take these amazing, attributes about our products, and turn it into a value sequence for them. Get in your stories, talk about how balanced blood sugar is going to help. Talk about how energy is going to help the tired mom. Talk about how weight loss and reduced sugar cravings is going to help her show up as her most confident self. We have an unlimited buffet of things that we can talk about through our products and our ingredients. So don't get tired of our products. Keep educating yourself and keep digging deeper. The second one, I think, is celebrate little wins. Know that every single thing, little things, big things, is something that you can celebrate. And I know as women, we sell ourselves so short in this area. And this sounds so cliche. I know I need to celebrate my wins, but truly, y'all, we do. Because if we are so focused on the big picture of going Ruby or going Emerald or signing that dream team, or we are missing the little steps along the way that are going to get us there. Don't allow yourself to slip into that. And something that I have really had to work hard on personally, and y'all let me know if y'all have had to work on this too, is if somebody gives you a compliment in an area that you are consciously working in and growing in, take it and celebrate it and decide to continue to build on it. If you're seeing improvements in your relationships as a result of book club, y'all celebrate that win. If you are seeing improved relationships with your kids or with your customers because of a personal development podcast you're listening to, celebrate it. Okay. Don't forget to look at where you were a month ago, look at where you were a year ago, and see how far you've come. that will continue and urge you on towards further progress. All right, the third one is surrounding yourself with the right people. And y'all have heard me say this 100 times on team calls. When you are around growth-minded people who cheer you on and remind you to keep going, that is the circle that you want to be in. But I want to take this a step further tonight, because so many times we talk about weeding through the negativity and setting boundaries with those negative people in your life, but you also have to be intentional to replace those people. If you're weeding out the negative, but you're not putting life back in, all you're doing is isolating yourself. We've got to be intentional to seek out those people who are going to speak life over this. And one of the things I want to encourage you to do, this will be life-giving to your business. If you do not have a mentor in your business who is 1 or 2 steps down the road, who is not your upline, this person should be outside of your upline. If you don't have a mentor in this who is speaking life into you and speaking truth into you, you need to find one. And you need to get consistent with asking them, hey, what are you doing in your business right now that's working? Hey, how are you getting into action this week? What are messages that you're sending that are working? What are you listening to right now? What podcasts, what coaches are you listening to right now? What are you doing that's working? Put yourself in the right room to grow. And I want to encourage you to not be afraid to reach out to those mentors, because the people who are 1 or 2 steps further down the road from you, I promise you, they are willing to turn around and help you. I just had an example of this happen. I don't know if any of you guys know who Trisha Regar is. She's a diamond. She's kind of in the minimalist community on Instagram. So she and I kind of travel in the same circles, and we message back and forth every now and then. But she is somebody I've always admired in this business. So the other day I reached out to her and I said, Trisha, I said, what are you doing in your business? I said, what's working? I said, I feel like I'm relationship building with these minimalist girls and they're not playing ball with me, you know? And she said, hey, do you have a minute to FaceTime? She FaceTimed me right then and there. And we had a 30-minute conversation exchanging podcasts that we're listening to, coaches that we're listening to, messages that we're doing that are working back and forth. She took the time to talk to somebody who she could have seen as direct competition on Instagram, but she decided to turn around and help. So I want to encourage you, find those people, reach out to them. They will help you. We have a very unique culture in Plexus. People are willing to help. All right. And then the last one is just become a doer. Just be a doer. So many people are walking around life thinking about what they want to do. And maybe and most of the time this starts with little things, maybe a feeling stirs up, or I really wanted to send that letter, to my mom in the mail, or I really want to send that message, that encouraging message to a friend, or I really want to write that post. Do it now. Remind yourself that you are a doer, because the best way to affirm to yourself that you're a doer is to go and do the freaking thing. Start building trust with yourself, because that's really all that is that when you fail to take action, when you don't follow through with the things that you want to do, you are showing yourself that you're not going to follow through. You're not building trust. The cure to feeling stuck is always, always, always getting into action. I hear Kim say this all the time, getting into messy action. Maybe it's not going to look right the first time. Maybe it's not going to look perfect the first message that you send. Do not get stuck in that limbo of, oh, I know what I want to do, I just don't do it. Do it. Be the action taker. I promise you, it will be a catalyst for change in your business. All of those things are going to keep that fire of enthusiasm and passion burning, and it is going to keep you motivated and excited to continue to show up. Okay, so those are just a few ways to throw the wood on the fire. Before we start really diving into curiosity and creating these new conversations, I do want to touch on one more mindset piece that I really think is worth talking about, because I think it's relevant to a lot of us on our team right now. And I've had quite a few conversations about these, a couple today. And it's in regards to in-person events. And drop an emoji here, drop something in the chat. If you have either already planned an in-person event this month, or if you've already had one. If you've planned one, or you said you planned one, maybe it fell through, but you planned one or you've done one. Okay. Katie had one, Kim had one. We planned, okay, lots of people. This is something that we're really encouraging y'all to take action on right now. And this is a conversation I've had a lot this week with people on my team. How many of you have been disappointed by your turnout? And y'all just be real honest in the chat. Raise your hand if you've been disappointed with your turnout. My hand is raised. How many of you had nobody show up to your in-person event? Or you had to cancel it because nobody was going to come? My hand is still raised. I had an in-person event scheduled this past Thursday and I had to cancel it because nobody was going to show up. Okay. And, I feel like it's worth having a conversation around this because there is a bigger vision that I want you to have around these events. Sip and Seas and in-person events are never meant to be the end all be all. They are a tool in our toolbox. And I think the tendency sometimes is to over personalize these events and catastrophize when something doesn't go as planned, especially when we have uplines involved and we have sidelines that are coming and money has been spent on samples and cute cups have been set out and all the things. But y'all, in-person events are really just a continuation of the conversation and the processes that we are doing on a daily basis. That's all they are. They are one piece of a much larger puzzle. Our business does not rise and fall on the success of one event, on one post, or on one conversation. Our Plexus business is the result of hundreds of online and in-person interactions. And so when one thing doesn't go as planned, what do? We're going to get up, we're going to regroup, we're going to redirect, and we're going to go do the next thing. We're going to focus on the gold. What did we learn? What did come of the one or two people that were there? What did come of the feedback that I got from those that couldn't come? And we pivot. We follow up with samples. We pivot to an online event. We do not stay in that place of maybe this isn't for me. Maybe everybody hates me because they didn't want to come to my house on a Thursday night at 7:30. In the middle of softball season, in the middle of basketball season, in the middle of their husband being at work and gone on a work trip. There's 1,000 different stories that we can tell ourselves. We have to get up and continue to stir the pot and do the next thing. And that's something that I want us to remember when it's so easy to get discouraged, is that you are one or two conversations away, always, from a completely different business. Please don't ever forget that. The more conversations and the more events that you're willing to do, the more success you're going to have. Focus on the goal that is in front of you. Focus on serving those people well in front of you, and it will serve you well long-term in your business. I used this failed event for myself Thursday night as an opportunity to plug people into our Thursday night gut chat. I sent some samples out, and I'm choosing to adapt. And I know that Thursday nights are not good for my people anymore. So we're going to swing and pivot and do it on a different day next time. So I know that was a little off topic, but I wanted to share that because we've been having so many good conversations around that this week. And I just applaud y'all for putting in the action, for going out there and doing the scary things and just networking and just good old fashioned networking, y'all. You're doing it. You're doing it. So if yours didn't work out this month, get back in there, maybe do it again next month. Keep stirring the pot. Okay, so now we're ready to get into the nitty-gritty of creating curiosity so that we can start having those conversations and showing up with a purpose.
Hey, Chelsea.
Uh-huh.
Can I say something real quick? Sorry, I don't think you saw the chat, but before we move on from that, can we just add one thing about Chandra's? I just don't want anybody to, like, everything you just said is so good, but I know that this happened to Chandra where she had one too, that like nobody was going to show up. And I would just love for you to share, for those that don't know it, what happened after that.
Well, thank you, Kim. That was really sweet. I just exactly like what Chelsea said. I offered samples to everyone that had said maybe, no, whatever that kind of answered. I went ahead and offered samples. I then pivoted a bit and invited everybody to our wellness chat. And I had 5 people in the wellness chat and 2 people signed up that night, and they both signed up with a Reset triplex welcome pack. So I was so excited. And then I still have 2 more people that I'm in active conversations with based on just the samples. So I love the new format of the wellness chat too. It is phenomenal. But thank you.
That's just such a perfect example. And I talked to Chandra after we had the conversation, and I was going to drive up there and it was going to be a whole thing. And I'm sure she had a moment where she was like, well, dang, like I put in all of this energy and we were going to have this fun day together. But she is a glass half full kind of girl. And she said, okay, how am I going to pivot? How am I going to now take these people and continue this conversation and find the gold in it? And that is so refreshing. And that's why she's going to be a diamond in this one day, because she sees what this takes. She sees that this is the bigger goal and not just the small picture. So I love you, Fran. Thank you, Kim. That was so valuable. Thank you for getting her to jump in right there. So let's kind of jump in a little bit to the nitty gritty of creating curiosity, starting conversations, and showing up with a purpose. Tonight, we're talking about casting the net. And before we even start, I want to talk about and just kind of remind us that whenever we're communicating, whether we're showing up in stories, whether we're showing up in a post, or whether we're having a conversation with a friend, we always want to communicate with a purpose to add value. And we said last week that every interaction that we have with a person, whether it's on social media, whether it's in person, whether it's on the phone, there's no such thing as a neutral interaction. This is just a scientific fact. Every interaction leaves us a little bit better or a little bit worse. So when we are coming on and we're talking to somebody, we always want to show up with a purpose to add value. We never want to show up on social media. And maybe this is contrary to what you've heard before, because you hear the message, just show up, just keep showing up, just keep showing up. And while there is such value in being consistent, you never want to hop on social media just for the sake of showing up or just getting a message just for the sake of sending a message. You want to show up with a purpose. If you are always getting on in your stories and talking about yourself and not really adding any value, and you're just kind of rambling along, you are teaching people how to treat you. And that's a swipe. Because if you are not showing up and adding value, or you're not showing up and shifting their perspective, because remember, people are always thinking, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's she doing that is going to better my life? Because I don't have time to listen to this chick go on in her stories if she's not making my life better. That's what people are thinking subconsciously. So if you are getting on, sharing value and changing people's perspective, people are going to lean in and listen. They're going to learn that, hey, Rachel's got something for me today. She's got something that I need to hear today. Helping people change their perspective is powerful. So I want you to think, how am I showing up and how am I doing that? And maybe that takes some pressure off of you. Maybe you feel like, oh my gosh, I got to show up in stories today. Like I got to show up in stories. Chelsea told me I have to be consistent. I have to show up in stories. But if you don't have something valuable to bring, it's better just to not show up that day, honestly. Regroup, think about, how can I show up on a Tuesday better than I can show up now? And just show up with value, because it always comes back to that. So how do we do that? How do we get people interested in what we're selling? We make it relevant for them. It always comes back to the value for people versus the facts and benefits. The facts and benefits, like I said, mean nothing to them. They don't know they need chromium. They don't know they need gut health. They don't know they need 3 strands of probiotics and freeze-dried probiotics and antifungals yet. They don't know that. We have to learn to listen to what our people are saying and then cast nets around those value topics. Okay? If you are in 3 conversations this week with moms who need more energy, guess what you need to be getting in stories and talking about this week? You need to be getting in there and talking about moms who need energy. If you're in a conversation with a friend who suffers from migraines, you better get in your posts with a migraine testimony this week. Listen and add value. Now, we can kind of think about this, and I love this analogy because we can all kind of relate to this, of being in a cubicle. Okay, we're in an office and we're in this office and everybody's in a cubicle around us. Okay, and everybody in the cubicle around us is dealing with something different, right? And we know that Plexus is probably the solution to a lot of those problems around us, right? Anxiety, GI issues, sleep issues, metabolism issues, financial worries. All of the people in the cubicles have their own things going on, and they have no idea that Triplex or gut health or collagen might be the solution for them. They just know what their problems are. They're always, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? I got these issues going on. So how is she going to help me fix it? The solution is going to be the same, but we need to be able to generate curiosity and speak to each of them in the vein of the value that they specifically need. So here's maybe kind of what that looks like. So we're in the cubicles, and Mary over here is dealing with weight and self-esteem issues. Sarah is in this cubicle, and she's dealing with anxiety, and it's affecting her life at home with her kids. And Carrie is over here drowning in credit card debt. Okay, how are we going to generate curiosity for all of these people? Are we going to walk around with our gut health flag waving, hoping that their ears are going to perk up when we use like words like microbiome and clinically proven studies? Or are we going to speak to each of their problems and tell them what's in it for them? So the first thing we have to do is be willing to listen and be willing to pay attention to the red flags that are flashing all around us. It's like the red flag sheet that we have, the 3 pillars. We need to be paying attention as we're having conversations with friends, as we're interacting with people on social media, so that we can begin casting these nets and we can begin casting that value. Maybe one day we are sharing and we do a story about how there may be a way that you can show up with confidence at spring break this year in your bathing suit. And maybe Mary pops up over her cubicle. I want some of that. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for some of that confidence in my bathing suit. She doesn't know she needs probiotics for that. She just knows she wants the confidence. Or maybe you're in a conversation at the water cooler with Sarah, and we share a story about your friend Angela, who is supporting her mental health naturally, and her ears perk up because you've done your research and you know that she's struggling with that. Or maybe you make a post about how you're paying off credit card debt and Carrie sees it while she's scrolling one night. All the same solution. Plexus is the same solution, but we're casting different nets for it. And one way to do this is to really pull from your testimonies, pull from your personal customers, pull from our pages, because I can promise you, if one person needs it, there's 10 other people out there who need it too. So bring your evidence in and share those wins to create curiosity for others. And I feel like this is something we constantly have to be doing through our content and our conversations, is telling stories, providing evidence and third-party validation for people. And I've heard Kim say this before: if you're getting tired of talking about it, or if you're getting tired of sharing the story, people are just beginning to listen. And y'all, it is so true. It's so true. The very point that we feel like we have exhausted this topic, or we have told this testimony 100 times, or you've shared this piece of your story 1,000 times, it's just the time that people are perking up and listening. I actually did stories today in my Instagram, and I just asked a question. I said, who's tried the pink drink? And there was a yes, yes, I've tried it, I love it. And then there was a no. There was a girl who got in my messages today. She's been following me for over a year. We've had interactions and messages on Instagram. She said, yeah, I've seen you sharing about Plexus, but what really is it? People are not seeing as much as you think they are. I share about Plexus every day in my stories. And this is a girl who actually follows me, but she was still not clear on exactly what it is. Find new ways to recycle your content, but keep talking about the value, and that's when the ears are going to perk up. So we're going to pivot a little bit from kind of casting these nets to information gathering. And usually the conversation from this point usually goes in one of 2 directions. Okay, let's say we've done a story, we've made a post, we've had a conversation, and somebody's interested. Somebody peeks up over the cubicle. Okay, I'm interested in the energy. I'm interested in the anxiety. I'm interested in the, opportunity, whatever it is. And it either goes one or 2 directions. The first one is either, okay, tell me a little bit more, or I'm interested, send me some info, some kind of general, send me some info. Or they go straight to, and this is my favorite one, how much does it cost? How many of y'all have ever gotten that question? How much does it cost? And your heart just melts into your feet. Do y'all know why our heart melts into our feet when they ask the price right off the bat? Because the problem with this question is not that our products are expensive, y'all, because they are not. I have walked into supplement stores and dropped $250 before on supplements that didn't work, and I didn't bat an eye because I wanted to feel better. The problem with this question, before we know what their goals are, is that we haven't built enough value for them to justify spending that $120 yet. And I want you to go back to last week when we talked about how people purchase. How do people purchase? Who can remember? In the chat, you're going to get a gold star if you remember. There's 3 things people need to purchase. I'm gonna wait till somebody says it. Emotion. Yes. People purchase emotionally, but they have to, how do they have to justify it? They have to justify it logically. And when somebody comes at us without having a conversation, without us being able to build value or justify logically for them, we've lost them right off the bat because they don't know that we have a solution to their problem. We've just piqued some curiosity, and we don't want to shut that down by sending them to a website and overwhelming them when we haven't even built value for them yet. So here's how we're going to respond to that question. And this is citing my sources again. This is straight out of the Guide Culture workbook. And I'm going to tell you, when they shared this with me, I got up out of my seat and did a dance because I never really knew how to handle this question. When somebody would ask me how much was it cost, I'm like, well, dang, I just lost them. Let me send you the welcome pack pricing. Here's how we're going to respond from now on when somebody gets in our DMs and asks about cost. We're going to give them a very simple and professional answer. And I want you to write this down because I don't have this on a printable for y'all this week. In order to save time and see if it's a good fit, is it okay if I ask you a couple of questions first? And I'll say that again so you can write it down. Somebody asks you, okay, so how much does it cost? In order to save time and see if it's a good fit for you, is it okay if I ask you a couple questions first? How does that feel? Like, does that make you feel good? Because what we truly need to know before we can answer that question for them is, what do they need? Like, what value am I bringing? Do they need active? Do they need ProBio? Do they need Triplex? What do they need? Slim, collagen, or do they not even need Plexus? Like, maybe I need to steer them in a different direction. That's happened to me before, y'all. I've had people in my DMs on Instagram who had so many things going on. Girl, you need to go see an integrative doctor. Like, maybe this is not the space for you. I need to know how I can help them and if I can help them first. Okay. And most of the time when we ask this to people and we say this to people, they're going to say yes. Because what did we learn last week? People love to do what? They love to talk about themselves, and they want to tell you what they need, what's in it for me, right? So the beauty of this question is that it really sets you up to be the professional, to be able to qualify people and to get to the heart of what they need so that you can give them a straightforward answer on this after you've built the value. Okay. So it doesn't matter which way the direction goes, whether they ask you for more information or they just go straight in and ask you for the cost. From there, we're going to go right into our info gathering. Okay. Once you've said, hey, can I ask you a couple of questions first? We're going to go right into our beautiful systems, into our existing processes that we already have. And we're going to learn and we're going to listen. We're going to send them our 3 pillars graphic. We're going to plug them into our team page, just like we always do. Share some gut health, share some Triplex, share some testimonies, and then we're going to tease out. Remember last week, we're going to tease it out. Okay. Tell me a little bit more about that. What are you currently doing? What have you tried before? What do you ultimately want to get out of this? What would success, I love this question. What would success on these products look like for you? That's a really great question because it gets them forward thinking and thinking about the possible positive outcome of this. And you're going to take notes on this. You're going to take notes and you're going to write down when Angelica is sharing with you, you're going to write down all the things that she's struggling with. Okay. And we're going to provide a solution to them. And it's going to come in the form of the confidence sequence that we talked about last week, but we are going to buffer that first. Okay. So we're going to take all of those things that we've info gathered on, and let's say, Angelica, you're just in the middle of my screen, so you're my guinea pig. Angelica is struggling with bloating, and she's struggling with sleep, and she wants to be more present with her kids. Okay. So after listening to Angelica, I'm listening for like, which one is the one that she really wants? And I know Angelica wants to spend more time. Like ultimately she wants to not have to worry about these things because she wants to be more present with her kids. I know that that's her big thing. And so I'm going to affirm that back to her. And I'm going to repeat back to her what she said to me. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. I know that's, such a tough place to be. I can relate so much to struggling with the bloating. And what I found is that gut health is really the key. Honestly, I am excited for you because there is actually a way for you to feel better after you eat, for you to get better sleep and be more present with your kids. I'm affirming this back to her. Once I know that Traplex is something that can address this for her, or Active or whatever it is, I'm going to speak those problems, speak those things back to her and affirm that, hey, there actually is a way that you can, feel better after you eat, get more sleep, and be more present with her kids. I'm showing her 3 things that I'm going to be able to do to help her. And that's really powerful, y'all. You are just speaking it back to her. Okay. And then you're just going to follow it with our confidence sequence. You're going to go right back to that sequence last night or last week when we talked about, here's the facts. I'm going to show you exactly what it's going to do for you. And then you're going to provide the value. You're going to speak to it in layman's terms, just like that. You're speaking to that kindergartner, that first grader, and break it down and show Angelica how exactly gut health is the answer to her problems. So here's what it might sound like. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. I know that is such a difficult place to be, and I can relate so much to struggling with bloating. And here's what I found. Gut health really is the key. And honestly, I'm excited for you because there actually is a way for you to feel better after you eat, get better sleep, and be more present for your kids. Here's why. Traplex addresses gut health. And what that means for you is that you can work towards healing your anxiety at a root level with a simple system. And the real value is that you can start showing up at home and being more present with your kids. I just read an article last week. Do y'all remember this from last week? Do y'all remember the confidence sequence from last week? I just read an article about the gut-brain connection that shared that 80 to 90% of your serotonin is actually created and manufactured in your gut. And if you struggle with GI issues, you also likely struggle with stress and anxiety. And I'm hearing you say that you want to be more present with your kids. Is that right? You are coming back to home base with that confidence sequence. You have shown her that gut health is directly correlated to her anxiety, to her sleep, to feeling bad after her meals, and you're providing a solution for her. Does that make sense? Do y'all see how this is just a flow? And the more conversations, the beauty of this is so many of our conversations are going to be the same. Like, so many of the conversations that you're having on a daily basis are going to have to do with 7 topics: sleep, anxiety, metabolism, autoimmune disorders, whatever your top 6 or 7 things are. And you're going to have this conversation over and over again. The only thing you're changing is the value that it's going to provide for that specific person. Because Kim may need gut health for her autoimmunity. Chandra may need, well, she needs it for autoimmunity too. Rebecca may need it for her bloating after meals. Angelica may need it for confidence in her bathing suit this summer. We all need it for different reasons. And the only thing we have to do is train our brain to listen for the value for that person and provide it. And I promise you, the more you do this, you're going to have these confidence sequences almost memorized. Like you're going to have, and this is going to come so naturally to you. You don't even have to think about how you're going to plug people in and what questions you're going to ask, because you're going to become so naturally curious of people and get so good at getting to the heart of what they need. It's just going to start rolling out. So that is how we cast general curiosity nets. We listen for existing testimonies that we already have. We listen to conversations that are going on around us. We intentionally create content around those things, not the benefits, not the facts, but around the value. And then we listen. And then we listen. Okay. Let me jump in the chat. Does anybody want to unmute and ask a specific question around all of this? Any comments? Any questions? Did anybody do a confidence sequence this past week or practice it? Sorry, hold on. Or practice it or use it in a conversation this week that wants to unmute and share? Kim, you wanted me to repeat something. What do you want me to repeat?
It was a while back, but I think it would be helpful for you to repeat that confidence sequence from top to bottom about the bloating and anxiety and sleep, just because I know I was writing down a couple of things, but I think sometimes it's helpful when people can write it all down, because then they can see how you're doing that and kind of start plugging it into conversations, but it's good.
I'll copy it and paste it because I have it in my notes right here.
Okay.
I'll put it in the notes, but I will say it again.
It's cool to hear yours too, because mine, like, obviously it follows the exact same structure, but like I did things a little bit differently, but it's cool because it gives you different ideas of things you can play with and tweak.
It does. And this should be in your own, like it should be in your own voice. You know, this should feel natural for you to say. And there are some, like we talked about last week, some verbatims, like as I'm using these in messages now, I'm sticking to the script and I'm saying, and the real value for you, like I'm actually saying that. That's not necessarily something I would say in a normal conversation, but I like how it gets the point across. You know,
Yeah.
there are
I
other,
gave them that pushback at the beginning. I was like, this just doesn't sound like anything that I would really say. And they're like, we just need you to go with us on this and just trust us. And like, it really does become very like, I catch myself saying it often. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because it really does break it down into layman's terms for people. And that's really the goal, you know, but you should also feel comfortable with it. So, you know, if you take this and tweak it, make it your own, make it sound like your voice, but also make sure you're making it super clear for people. But I think it's important, you know, at the beginning of what I just shared in the comments is that you're affirming people. And really what this does is when you say, thank you so much for sharing that with me. I know that's a tough place to be. What I've found is that gut health is key. Honestly, I'm excited for you because there actually is a way for you to feel better, for you to get better sleep at night and be more present with your kids. You're almost like holding them accountable to what they said. When you repeat back to them what they said, they're like, oh yeah, I did say that. So tell me more, you know, because people need to be held accountable for what they're saying, you know? So yeah. Anything else? Any other questions, or did anybody practice this week? I'm curious. It's okay if you didn't.
I'll say Chelsea. I did try it this week. I felt like I hit a bit of a roadblock and I didn't know how to respond because the response to all of that after I was feeling pretty good about how I presented everything was, thanks. I'll have to think about it and get back to you. And I was like, good. Like I was just like, wow, I feel like I was really trying to, empathize and also provide value and back it up with all of that, and then it was just very basic, like I'll get back to you.
Right. This is something we're going to talk about the next series we do, because we're going to talk about objections. And I actually did not get this next part from Guide Culture. I follow a sales guy called Daniel G. Does anybody follow him on Instagram? He is a fireball, and I'll just go, you need to follow him because he's amazing, but just be prepared. Do not listen to it around your children. Lots of F-bombs, but he is so good. And I actually used this, Katie, in a message this week, and it worked like a charm. When somebody says, okay, thanks, I'm going to think about it. You're going to get back in there and say, awesome, take your time. While you're thinking about it, what are some points that you're thinking about? Or what are some health goals that you have, so I can tag you in a couple of testimonies? Or what are the things that you're going to be thinking about specifically, so that I can send you some information on that, some follow-up information? And, maybe they answer that, maybe they don't, but that holds them accountable to what exactly are you thinking about? And if they come back and tell you, oh, I need to look at the ingredients, or, oh, I need to look more into gut health, or what it is, now you have another follow-up point for that person. So give them the out and say, I completely understand that. Take your time. I want to help you do your research. What are some things that you're going to be thinking about? What specifically? And you can even give them some options. Like, are you thinking about this, or this? Because I want to send you some follow-up information. Okay. His name is just Daniel G, like just the initial G. He has like 2 million followers or something. But he will light a fire under you. Just start your day with 2 or 3 of his reels, and that's all you need. He's so good.
That's good. I need that because I think sometimes I get so stuck in like keeping that conversation rolling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, if they do answer back and they say they need 2 weeks, hopefully you're able to address those objections before that, but you have an excuse to follow up with them, and you have a follow-up point for 2 weeks, Did anybody find him on Instagram? Mandy found him. Just mute it. I'm just warning you. He's intense, but he's awesome. Anything else? I'm proud of you, Katie, for doing the confidence sequence. That's awesome. It works.
Hey, Chelsea.
Hey.
Hey, I tried it too last week. Actually, I have a girl that has she wanted to share with her aunt, and she messaged me and said, "Hey, listen, my aunt is interested. Can you help me?" And I was like, "Sure, absolutely." And so we got into a three-way message, and I was like fresh off the call, so I was ready. Okay. And I used the sequence, and I closed the deal for my girl. So I got a level 2 finally. And I was so super excited about it. And I found that, the enthusiasm that I was using and felt an excitement right off the call, because I was hot off the presses, that the questions I was asking her was, tell me a little bit about yourself. So, what are your health goals? And then she was like, well, I want to lose weight. I want to get healthier. I'm on a few medications, and I'm about 60 pounds overweight. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing with me. That means so much that you trusted me with that. So let me ask you a question. I said, so what would it mean for you to lose that weight? What would it mean for you to get off those medications and just feel better in your own skin? And she came back to me. She said, this is what it would mean for me. And so we continued the conversation, getting to know each other. And then before the evening was over, we had her signed up. Because I was, of course, I put her on triplex, and she's ready to go. But her husband had passed away, and she had promised him that she would get healthier. And now that she has her niece doing it, they're doing it together. So I'm working on more, but I think it really helped me kind of like get over that little obstacle that I had. So thank you for that call last week. And then I asked for someone, I said, I need that call again, Kim, where's it at? Because I was going to go back, and I was like, did I miss something? Maybe I have some more things I could pick up and kind of make it my own. And so thanks again. It was helpful.
You helped her paint her own vision for herself. And that's ultimately what we're doing here, is we're pointing them toward the solution. That's amazing. Patty, I'm so proud of you. That's awesome. Isn't it? Didn't it feel more confident when you're like, I know exactly how to do this. Like, I know exactly what I need to ask her. It helps you detach from the outcome.
Right. And sending the voice clips in between, like we'd message a little bit, and then we would send voice clips back and forth. And I think that getting that personal touch with her, feeling and hearing my enthusiasm, and like, just, oh, I understand. Listen, I'm here for you. Let's take a look at what you've got going on, and let's see what we can, do for you today. And that's why I kind of kept uncovering her needs. And the more I did, then I just turned it back on her. And then before I knew it, she was ready to go. So I was like, yay, I just need more of those.
That is the best feeling. I'm so excited. That's so awesome.
Yeah. So thank you for getting that training and sharing it with us, because that really, as a leader, that really is impactful to all of us, because we look up to you and Kim so much, and trying to find the right way to the easiest way to not make it so hard, because I'm an overthinker, right, Kim? And I like to just really give too much information. You might say throw up on somebody at first, when you really don't need it to be like that. So you're simplifying it, both of you are, and it's pretty awesome. So thanks, guys.
Well, thank you. Just trying to give you guys the tools that I did not have coming into this. And I'm so glad that it's been valuable and it's helping. That's amazing. And it's duplicatable. Like it's duplicatable down to our teams. So we're getting a lot of the why behind it. But if we can, automate this process down to our people, like imagine how many people we will serve through this. It really is amazing. All right, we ran long tonight, y'all. I'm sorry. We rarely have hour-long calls. Any last thoughts before we sign off? All right, y'all are awesome. I will share the recording tonight after it downloads. And do y'all want me to put that verbiage? I can throw it in a PDF and send it. Okay, I'll do that. I'll throw that. Maybe I'll put it in rainbow colors so that it matches our confidence sequence last week. we'll see how crafty I get tonight, but I'll put the PDF in there for us too.
And Katie and I can laminate it.
Oh my gosh. I love y'all. Thank y'all for hopping on tonight. This was fun. It was good to see so many faces tonight. Bye, y'all.
Good night, y'all.